skip around from it. So, and get some rest and hope.
A very big story going on right now.
This is the video from Anthony Logan's page, and I recommend everyone checks his out, because he had some great commentary into this.
Is the interview that D.L. Hughley did with Megyn Kelly on Fox News. Now, to back up a little bit, if you don't know who D.L. Hughley is, he is a comedian, has been around for a very long time. He got a start on a show called Comic View that aired on BET. Very popular in the black community as far as being a comedian is concerned. And he's pretty much been like an actor / comedian throughout his life. He was in a show called The Hughleys, which is like a Family Matters, Full House kind of sitcom for about 4 years, from like 98 to 2002. So he's been in the public eye. He's been on TV for a very long time. He was also on a thing called the Kings of Comedy Tour with Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and the now deceased Bernie Mac. So he's been a very popular figure in black culture, but he's kind of transformed himself into like a social justice warrior, a radio host type of guy, you know, political commentator. I think he has a radio show. I'm not quite sure what the show was called, but I'll link to it in the box below if you want to check it out. Now, having all of that as a background, this is why he's on shows like on Fox, like on CNN, also looking like the Mad Hatter, etc. It's because
he does. And you know what I thought about is there's a thing where authority all throughout history, whether it's your tribal leaders, you know, with fucking feathered headdresses, or the Queen of England, or, you know, any of these, authority always comes in a fucking funny costume. And I kind of wonder if that's what he's going for, where if he's like, well, maybe if I just make these points and I dress like I'm fucking crazy, people will respect me more. Because for some reason, it obviously works. It's been done all throughout history. But it's like, if the more you dress like you're a fucking crazy person, the more people seem to respect you. I don't get it, but it's fucking funny because he's dressed like a goddamn fool.
He is kind of like a polarizing figure when it comes to politics. He'll go on talk shows and talk about black issues in an air quotes real way, but really all of this is very destructive. Now, without any further ado, I just want to take you step by step through this interview he did with Megyn Kelly, and I want to stop it at key points to give my commentary. So go ahead and roll it.
Joining me now with reaction, D.L. Hughley, actor, radio host, and author of Black Man, White House, an oral history of the Obama years. D.L., thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know Mark Furman was going to be here.
What did you make of it? Because you were shaking your head.
I think that cops have a different perspective than us, and I think it was interesting to hear.
Now, first off, I want to point out, we're going to see a video from a woman where she's going to go on and talk about Megyn Kelly deflecting in the interview and trying to bring up the hands up, don't shoot thing and everything like that. What she fails to overlook is that this starts with D.L. Hughley deflecting, and immediately, and D.L. Hughley will even, in another interview with Sway, he'll be like, well, I was there to talk about my book, and she didn't want to talk about my book. No, you started going on talking about something that was brought up in a different segment. He started deflecting. But, I mean, I guess because he's subhuman, we don't judge him by the same standards we judge humans.
Mark Furman, who was actually got in trouble for perjuring himself, called somebody a liar. It's ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to give you a little bit of context here, what they're talking about is Mark Furman, who was just on the stage before D.L. Hughley came on, talking to Megyn Kelly about the Philando Castile situation and the girlfriend, I forget her name, I think her name was Lavish or Diamond, and how some of what she said may have been outright lies or inconsistencies.
Is that the same girl? Is it? I'll tell you, makeup does wonders, and I don't like girls that wear makeup, because obviously, as you can see, you can be looking busted and then start looking good. I mean, imagine, this right here is pretty, but imagine you go home with this, and the next morning, you wake up alongside this in bed. Oh, that'd be a scary morning. Scary, scary morning.
So I have video of that, so I'll play a little bit of it to give you a little bit more context. So go ahead and roll it.
Well, Megyn, the girlfriend's either lying before or she's lying now. It doesn't matter which. She's lying one time or another. And at the very least, she's completely confused and she knows nothing. But when you look at an officer encountering a situation, it's not profiling to look for a suspect that's identified in a crime. That's called police work.
Okay, now we're back. So you see kind of what he was saying about Philando Castile and his girlfriend, about how the girlfriend was lying, how it's a lot of evidence that may point to her lying. You had the Newport cigarettes that may have been involved in the robbery. You know, how Philando Castile may have matched the suspect. I think there's been a thing about the robbery suspect may have been Philando Castile because when he is not in school, I mean, where do you make your money? So there were a lot of things that point towards the woman not telling the truth, and also for Philando Castile being a robbery suspect. Now, that does not mean that it was okay to, air quotes, murder him, because we don't really know what happened before the camera started rolling. We don't know the circumstances to which he lost his life. All we see is the aftermath, right?
Oh, D.L. Hughley knows. You know, it's racist cops murdering innocent black men because that's what they do. That's the cop job.
Now, DL has a point about Mark Fuhrman being someone who has perjured himself in court, but that does not mean that the evidence of the case surrounding Mr. Philando Castile is in any way compromised because of what one person did in their personal life or in a previous unrelated case.
But what do you make of the fact that she had inconsistencies in her story?
I think the cop had inconsistencies in his too. To me.
So then you let the evidence play out.
Here's my problem. It is my belief that no matter what happens, no matter what we see, the cops are given a presumption of innocence. If that same tape showed a suspect doing something, that would be all the prosecution would need. They would say the evidence is all right here. But a cop gets a presumption of innocence that is, no matter what they see, we can see somebody getting shot to death. They go, we don't know what happened before, we don't know what happened after.
Well, first of all people have the presumption of innocence until proven guilty, according to the law. But for police officers, it's especially so because they are called to a place to help someone or to help something, you know, to prevent property crime, to help someone, to save someone, to rescue somebody. They are sent to a place, they are armed, and they're putting themselves into the line of fire. Prime example, you had a situation in Dallas where you had the sniper, air quotes, sniper shooting from an elevated place. Now, the people that were protesting at that rally ran away from the bullets. The police ran towards the bullets. So the police, you got to put them in a higher level of believability when it comes to anything that happens after that point, because the police are the ones that are there to protect everyone else. That's just kind of how that works. That's logic and that's common sense. But maybe that doesn't really exist too much on the left anymore.
I know this, that in a state, in both these states, men, a lot of men in Louisiana, 50 or 47% of people carry guns. Men carry guns. So men having guns on them can't be that unusual. Why wasn't the first question, rather than assuming, do you have a permit for that? Those are states that you can carry a gun.
Well, the whole thing about it is you're talking about Philando Castile. Now, in the Philando Castile situation, you don't know what happened before the camera started rolling. Just because a young lady said that he told the officer that he was licensed to carry and that all he did was tell the officer he had a gun and then the officer shot him, that does not mean that's what happened. We don't really know what happened before the camera started rolling. And just because you're able to carry a gun does not mean that you're able to carry it irresponsibly or to brandish it. We don't know if the guy didn't just grab the gun when the officer told him not to, or if...
And also, the D.L. Hughley in the latter video is going to bring up Tamir Rice. And for anyone who's seen that video, Tamir Rice was walking around the park like fucking waving it around, pointing it at people. I mean, it is the definition of irresponsibility, whether it's a real gun or a fake gun, because again, how was anyone supposed to discern that?
If he had it on his lap and was trying to brandish it on the officer, we don't know. So just because you're able to carry a gun does not mean that you can just carry it any kind of way you want to. And it does not mean that there aren't other laws that surround it. Just like in the Alton Sterling situation, people want to say, oh, you can open carry or you can conceal carry, whatever. But that doesn't mean you can brandish a gun on somebody and threaten them about money.
But you're making assumptions because we don't know what happened.
No.
What we have right now is her testimonial, which doesn't capture the actual event. Do we know whether she's credible? Do we know whether...
We know this. We know he had a permit to carry a gun.
But that doesn't answer any of the questions.
That absolutely answers the question.
If he pulled the firearm on the officer, if he didn't disclose it, if the officer felt threatened...
Why on earth would you... Here's what we do know. He had a permit to carry a gun. When you get a permit to carry a gun, they tell you exactly how to act when a police officer
That doesn't mean
pulls
he
you over.
didn't threaten the officer.
You're willing to give them a presumption of innocence.
I'm not giving them presumption. Well, the law gives them the presumption of innocence.
No, their badge gives them a presumption.
See, what's going on here is DL, he's going to willfully ignore any kind of evidence that supports a different side. He'll take any evidence that supports what he wants to believe. You'll see that a little bit more coming up.
Facts. I mean, we saw this happen with Michael Brown and Ferguson.
And we still don't know the facts there. We have a police officer's word and a grand jury's word.
No, we have the Department of Justice's word.
The Department of Justice shut down Ferguson. Ferguson had to be shut down because it was so corrupt.
The Department of Justice found that the police there had endemic racism. They found that.
Right.
But they also exonerated Officer Darren Wilson.
That's not a...
And they found hands up, don't shoot was a lie.
Let me ask you something.
And that Michael Brown was the aggressor.
Wow. Here's what I'll say.
Don't wow me.
Don't tell me not to wow you. I can say wow if I want to, and I'll tell you this.
See, right
now, pay attention to that scene, because we're going to have in the other video with the woman, she's going to be putting all sorts of context to this, trying to tell you what Megyn Kelly is thinking, because, you know, because she's dressed like some crazy witch doctor or something, she's obviously a psychic. I mean, she looks like the things in the video being like, call me now for your free psychic reading. I mean, it's insane. It's this crazy Jedi mind trick shit.
Here, he's just defending his street cred because he knows he has a radio show to go back to, and he knows that if he goes back to the radio show and he did not, air quote, stand up to Megyn Kelly, then
stand up or just repeat the party line ad nauseum,
they're going to treat him differently. So he has to do that at that point.
I'll tell you this. They found systemic racism, right? So it's unbelievable. They also found systemic racism. And we know that Darren Wilson left the department because it was so racist it had to be disbanded. And he went to Ferguson, another department that is rife with racism.
So that makes him a racist.
Absolutely. You know what? I have no problem.
Michael Brown,
I have no problem.
Notice that too. Just guilt by association. It was so blatant.
That officer's gun and tried to shoot him in his patrol car.
No one has proven that. No one has proven that.
That's what Eric Holder's DOJ concluded.
And Eric.
Notice how Megyn Kelly is like she wants to laugh at him. I mean, I'm doing the same thing that I am almost accused the others of, but just look at her face, and you can tell that she is looking at him like he's a madman. Like, she wants to laugh at him because he is outright denying reality. Again.
That is, no one has proven that. No one has proven that.
That's what Eric Holder's DOJ concluded.
And Eric Holder's DOJ concluded that department was so rife with
That's
with
a dodge.
corruption.
I already conceded that, DL.
Hey, Megyn,
we're talking about Michael Brown and the lie
be clear.
of hands up, don't shoot.
I don't dodge at all. I'm here in Fox News.
Then let's stay on it. Then let's stay on Michael Brown.
We're talking about no.
Actually, DL, you did dodge right there, because Megyn Kelly pointed out what I just said about how you ignore certain things that you don't want to actually talk about in favor of that which you do want to talk about, which supports your narrative. She just told you that the DOJ found racism that was rampant in Ferguson, which ain't even really true. All they found was some emails. That does not denote racism being like systemic and rampant in the police department. But
also, I have to say, some of this, I mean, again, you're talking about a thought crime here. Like, it just, if these are the problems we have, we're in good shape.
Digress. She gave you that point, but then she also said that the DOJ found that the hands up, don't shoot thing was a lie. You had witnesses that said that was a lie. You had the grand jury said it was a lie. You had all evidence pointed towards it being a lie. I don't even know who started that lie, to be perfectly honest. I think it might have been people on the street. But if you had seen any of the video from the street, right when it happened, some people were in the background saying how Michael Brown was charging at Darren Wilson. You can hear them in the background, right? So this is before the whole thing came out. This is raw video, right when the whole thing happened.
We're talking about, I'm not talking, no woman, I'm not trying to get out of bounds. You don't dodge,
then let's stay in bounds.
We were talking about the young man that just got murdered in Minnesota.
And the rush to judgment and the assumption you know something when you don't actually know it.
First off, what I'll tell you is this. It is not uncommon for you all to see one thing. The only place racism doesn't exist is Fox News and the police department.
And there you have it. That was his intention from the beginning, to get on there and talk badly about Fox News. I haven't really listened to his radio show, but I'm pretty sure, knowing how D.L. Hughley is, from following his career since the 90s back in Comic View when I was a kid, I know how he is. He's a racist. He has a lot of racial humor when he was a comedian. As it's gone throughout the years, he's become more and more of a racist. So now, when he goes back to his radio show, he can bring up these sound clips and he can say that he fought against Fox News and Megyn Kelly and the big bad white racist.
And you have that online where people are reposting this clip, and it's so funny how two people can post the same clip and make completely contrary statements, where I can show this video and even this guy, Brian Anthony Logan, can point it out and show that D.L. Hughley makes a fool of himself, and other people will see it, and because they're so indoctrinated in the party lines, they'll be like, oh, D.L. Hughley destroyed Megan Fox because he just went up there and said, racist, everyone's racist.
That was the whole point from the beginning. He did not come to Fox News to come to any kind of agreement. He came on there to indict Fox News.
That's the only place that's absolutely true.
That's insulting. You just insulted millions of people watching this channel.
And you know what? I'm insulted by the things I hear on this network, so we're even. I could care less about insulting people that insult me on a daily basis.
You're making a point that is...
Do you really think they insult D.L. Hughley on a daily basis? I mean, this is, again, this collectivist notion and just guilt by association or guilt by race. And you see which side is perpetuating it, and you see the other side, which is trying to say, that's not fair, we shouldn't act this way. I mean, it's absurd.
Before the insults, the point you started to make is true, and we can talk about that whites perceive the situation when it comes to these
I think a lot of people on this network have never seen a black man that didn't think deserved it.
Could you hold the insults for a second so we can have a productive conversation? You were going to make the points that whites see certain incidents differently than blacks do, and we saw that in the O.J. Simpson case when the verdict came down. I'll give you that. Most reasonable people will give you that. But you know what shuts down all reasonable dialogue is throwing out the term racism before it's been proven.
You know what's, first off, I'll say this. I believe that there is a benefit of the doubt given to police officers that's not given to anybody else.
See, D.L. is repeating himself here, talking about police officers getting special treatment. But what he does not understand, or maybe he does, but does not want to really admit it, is that police officers are in a unique situation. They can't really be held to the same standards as regular citizens, because a regular citizen is not going to be able to just break somebody's door down to go find drugs or to rescue somebody or something like that. Regular citizens are not called upon to save people and to be in very dangerous and life-threatening situations. So you can't really compare the two, right? Now, I'm not trying to say that police officers should be above the law, that there should be no laws. It should be like Judge Dredd, being able to go do whatever they want to do. But at the same time, you can't say that a regular citizen, a square person that is not in public service, should be held to the exact same standards as a police officer.
And maybe, yeah, obviously they do a tough job. You can't. In 2006, the FBI came out with a report that said that police departments were rife with white supremacists. Said it, not me. So why wouldn't I believe if I know that? I don't know a black man that hasn't had a run-in with a police officer, from the highest to the lowest.
I've been in many very dangerous situations in my life, but I never one time had a problem with the police, ever. Never. I don't just get randomly pulled over. You know, I don't have these problems. A lot of things that people talk about when it comes to black people in police is self-inflicted. It's brought upon themselves. If you are riding around with the wrong tags, if you're riding around, you're smoking weed in the car.
We saw this in the video earlier with the guy on the bicycle, where it was a simple matter of getting a ticket that turned into a escalated incident, and it was completely self-inflicted.
You got guns in the car, you got warrants on you. I mean, if your license ain't right, a lot of these things can happen to you. And if you're out there doing things you shouldn't be doing, things can happen to you. If you just live your life right, you'll be pretty much okay. Now, there are some situations where black men get profiled by police, but what you have to understand is that it's not the fault of the police officer. It's the fault of the hundreds of black men that came before you that did something wrong.
Now, I'm going to run that back, because this is, again, the point I'm trying to make with this, where, like I said, I'm pleading with black people, black men, black community. Cut the nonsense, cut the excuses, cut the bullshit. If you want to deal with this in a collectivist manner, you need to look at those around you and those that have brought this situation upon you.
There are some situations where black men get profiled by police, but what you have to understand is that it's not the fault of the police officer. It's the fault of the hundreds of black men that came before you that did something wrong. If you want black men to be completely stopped from being profiled by police, tell the other black men to stop committing crime at such a high rate that makes all of us look bad.
So my
You've been backed up on that by many people.
My perception of this is based on the experience I've had, just like yours are. So I am not willing to give them a benefit of the doubt. I have seen a lot of things. I lived in the city that Mark Furman police that also had to be taken over by the federal government.
It's very dangerous when you get to the point where you paint with an entire group with the same brush based on the bad actions of a few.
That is amazing to hear on this network. That really is. That really is amazing to hear on this network. The only place racism
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Take care.
I think her face at the end tells the whole story. I think that's how most people that are watching this feel who disagree with DL, because what he did really was just attack Fox News. That was his whole point from the beginning. Like I said, he had no intentions of going on there and having a healthy dialogue from one side of the aisle to the other. It was all about defending his stance that Fox News and Republicans are the devil. That's how most black liberals are. That's how most liberals are in general, especially the black ones, because what happens to us is that we get peer pressure. Like I said, he has a radio show and he has a viewership and they expect him to behave a certain way. So if he goes off of the script, then that can hurt him in his business. So this is more than just him virtue signaling, which is very dangerous and real, but it's a subject for a different video. This is him just protecting his brand. This is what he does. So he really can't go off of the plantation and agree with Megyn Kelly really on anything. He'll just come on there, state his opinion, and just have that be that. And the whole point to him going on Fox News was just to have that big of a platform to express his view and also to attack them, like I said before. All in all, this was a very unproductive actual talk, but it was not productive as far as being able to come to any kind of conclusion or air quotes solution like the liberals like to talk about. But what it did was it shows you how different people think, right? If you have a black conservative on there, he'll speak completely different than D.L. Hughley did. And I think the best test would be to have D.L. Hughley get on a talk show and talk to somebody like Larry Elder. I think that'd be fantastic because he kept talking about Mark Furman, you know, being in LA when he was in Hollywood or whatever on TV. So he can talk to somebody like Larry Elder, who was from LA, who was an LA original. I think DL was actually from North Carolina. He was actually lived in Virginia for a while where I am as well. So LA, that's something that Larry Elder would know much more than D.L. Hughley. I think that'd be a great debate to have on Fox News or anywhere else. So you can see how there's a dichotomy within the black community between the liberals, people that just want to follow behind Barack Hussein Obama, Hillary Clinton, etc., and those of us that just want to kind of do our own thing and be more conservative in our principles. But that's pretty much all I got to say about it. It was an interesting interview. It's getting...
All right. So, everyone, I recommend you check out this guy's channel. Lots of other good content there. Let's get into this crazy woman who, like I said,
okay, shalom.
She looks like the television psychics of the 90s. Call me now. And you're going to see that because she's going to tell you what everyone else is thinking.
Okay, shalom family. Real quickly, I wanted to discuss the video that we saw with D.L. Hughley and Megan Fox of Fox News. I wanted to discuss that because, as you saw in that video very clearly, that you're dealing with a network, Fox News, a network that has always been unfair and very, very clearly racist on their views. Now, this is something that is shared around this nation. It's not just something that's limited to Fox, because they have a huge following. They have a lot of people who believe exactly.
They really don't. That's one of the other things to keep in mind. They don't. Mainstream news has shit for viewers nowadays. Same way the music industry has shit for listeners. Rihanna can get, you know, one of the main reasons why I've started focusing my attention towards this and other things. I'm mainly a musician. Music is my main passion. But when I see things like Rihanna getting the #1 album on the Billboard charts with 17,000 units sold. 17,000. Okay, so let's say that's at $10 a pop. Now you're paying all of your producers, your writers. I mean, it takes 10 to 20 people for every Rihanna song you hear. there's no way to make money off of that. There's no way. I mean, by the end of it, Rihanna could have the #1 album on Billboard, and she'll probably make $7 grand off of it. That's insane. So it's not within my financial interest to be pursuing music as a primary income source. Neither is this, but I go through the news stuff anyway, so it's commenting on it is me trying to maximize my time, where I can do something to generate a little bit of revenue while doing something I would do anyway. And, you know, occasionally I'll tell you, check out my music channels, everything like that. But, like I said, mainstream news doesn't have anything for viewers. There's plenty of online platforms like what I'm trying to do and others that have more viewers because there's far less of an agenda. You know, I have people who comment on my videos saying, you know, that they prefer me over people, even prefer me over the likes of, say, Milo Yiannopoulos, because they think I have less of an agenda to push. And in some ways, I do. I just want common sense. I want people to be level-headed and to just be rational and not to be too judgmental and to just chill the fuck out. It's not that deep. Take a deep breath and come on. Let's all act like decent human beings. Let's not deny problems. Let's address all the problems. Let's work this shit out. I mean, generally, you know, I've said before, I hear things that Louis Farrakhan will say that would benefit the black community, but would also benefit the white community. And it's a shame that it's like, oh, well, blacks need to do this. No, everyone should do this. And there's no benefit in just telling one group to do something and not telling the others. Why can't you advocate for everyone? Why do you choose to advocate for one group over another? It doesn't make any sense to me. Not if we're all seeming to fight for unity and equality. It's absolutely ridiculous.
The way that they believe, okay? Now, I often talk about how the media is designed. When you look at the way the word is spelled, media, it kind of gives reference to meditation. You know, meditation is a form of pondering on a particular thing so that you can get it down inside of you. And so if you look at the media, it's very similar to that. If they say things enough times, it's a form of meditation where it's going down inside of you. You're digesting that, and it becomes a part of you, becomes a part of your thought process.
Now notice how she'll admit this, but she'll only admit it for those she is pointing to as the enemies and not towards herself or her own beliefs or anything like that. I mean, again, there's plenty of things that I try to be open-minded. You know, I've done videos about the flat earth and saying Darwinism is a religion because I feel it requires large amounts of faith to believe in, you know, stories of life coming from rocks and horses mutating into cows or whatever. Like, but I don't deny it could be possible. I don't think it's probable, but it could be possible. Anything could be possible. But I have a problem when people are very selective with this stuff. Oh, well, they're doing that. That's not what I'm doing. I got the truth. They're convincing themselves of lies. Not so much. The thing I'll say frequently is if something can be debated for hours and hours, or days and days, or years and centuries, both sides probably have a bit of truth. That's why neither one is comfortable conceding to the other, because there's some truth to be found there.
So the media has hammered certain narratives for so long. One of those narratives being black on black crime, black males being constantly put before our eyes as criminals, although nationwide you have just as much criminality in white America.
No, you don't. I mean, again, let's refer to some stats. I've done videos where I've just gone through them back to back to back. It's not true whatsoever. And denying this isn't going to fix it.
But as you saw with Megan Fox and D.L. Hughley, the way the interview went, or the discussion, I can't even call it an interview, it was actually a discussion, it was almost one-sided because she rudely wouldn't allow him to say what he needed to say in defense of what he was on there to talk about.
I almost feel like she's talking about a completely different interview than the one we just watched. I mean, this is weird.
And you very quickly saw how she was directing the conversation towards what she wanted to bring about. He was trying to talk about fairness, and she wanted to deflect from the real conversation and jump onto something that had absolutely nothing to do with what he wanted to talk about.
Not true. He immediately brought up the guy interviewed prior. You know, I feel like I don't need to explain this. We all just watched it. He brought up the thing about the guy prior. He then started talking about this case. She said, well, you can't jump to conclusions. Then he basically said, yes, I can. And then she said, but we've jumped to conclusions before with Mike Brown, and it turned out to be wrong. And he refused to even admit that it turned out to be wrong.
And before I continue, I also wanted to address the fact that she says, don't say wow to me. Because he said wow in response to some nonsense that she spoke out of her mouth. He said wow. And she said, don't say wow to me. What you witnessed in that particular moment was white supremacy at its best.
Oh, man. Oh, this is where we just go right off the deep end. Right off the deep end. Someone basically saying, don't be rude to me and don't be dismissive to me. Let's conversate. Let's not be childish here. Let's act like adults and have a dialogue. And he just wants to be like, oh, wow. I mean, again, there's don't criticize the subhumans. Let them be little babies and little brats and however they want to act. And then if you say you're being a dick, well, then you're being a white supremacist. I mean, this is insane.
Here you have a very successful, well-known, famous black man who is also rich. But in her mind, he is no different than any other black man. And so she's saying, don't.
Notice how, this is what pisses me off the most about this stuff. Notice how comfortable she is trying to tell you what's going on in Megyn Kelly's mind. As if she's there. Call me now for your free psychic reading. With my magical headdress, I can see inside your brain. I mean, it's insane. And it's, again, a sort of narcissism and arrogance and ego and everything that I'm sure she would try to say, oh, well, I meditate and I'm centering myself with oneness and oh, the source energy connects us all and connects me to your thoughts, and I will tell you what you're thinking. I mean, this is craziness.
Don't say wow to me. In other words, respect me. I am.
Respect me. What's wrong with any human asking for a basic level of respect? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I would think if D.L. Hughley was talking and Megyn Kelly just went, wow, DL, that he should be like, don't wow me. I think it should be able to work both ways like that. But again, we're talking, these people see things through this dynamic where there are the supreme humans and the subhumans. So, can't have that going on.
A white female, and don't you say wow to me, boy. That is the mindset of Megan Fox. And so, very clearly you can see that we are dealing with a reprobate group of people. Now back to the subject at hand. Now he was on there to talk about recent events, recent killings, recent shootings.
Wrong. If you listen to him, he was there to talk about his book, which we'll see that in a prior clip.
In particular, he wanted to talk about the young man who was killed for no other reason other than the fact that he was a so-called black man and a person.
Oh, of course, so-called, not even a black man, a so-called
perceived threat to an officer. Now, he identified the fact that he had a license to carry a weapon, and because he did what the law required him to do, which was to disclose that information to the officer, he was shot and killed on Facebook Live. But what Megyn...
No, we have the aftermath on it. We don't have the incident.
Fox wanted to do, because she had absolutely no defense for that action. Of course she tried. She said, well, we don't know what happened before that. We don't know if he tried to threaten the officer. We don't know if the officer feared for his life. There's always this presumption of innocence for so-called white people or so-called police officers who have a history of violence against our people. They have a history of it, you see? And
you know who else has a history of violence against your people? Bees. Like, yeah, like the black and yellow striped things. More of them kill black people per year than cops. So, there's a history of violence from honeybees. Keep that in mind.
Yet and still, their word is more precious than gold to the general public. If the police officer says that...
And the previous video explained that that is somewhat true, and there is somewhat of a reason for it.
He felt threatened, that's all the general public needs to hear. Even though our eyes are not lying to us, when we saw very clearly on video that the young man was not a threat, and even when they did a background check on him, they came up with nothing. So now all they have to do is say, okay, since we can't find anything, we'll just use our media box to throw out all of the ifs. We're going to say, well, we don't know, or what if he did threaten the police officer before the video started to roll. You see, they always throw those things out there because they have nothing.
And what this person is basically trying to, like, this is why we have court systems. I mean, this is called the Western world. I don't know if you're aware of how the Western world functions, because you look like you're living in some sort of fucking hut somewhere on an island or something. But in the Western world, we have a court system, and like Megyn Kelly said, everyone is presumed innocent until proven otherwise. And we don't know what the details are. And she's even admitting that the video doesn't start until afterwards, and we don't have all of it, but she's fine with assuming something that fits her narrative, and not the other way. The same as D.L. Hughley was. It's the same exact thing going on, and she's just basically doubling down on it.
You see, they have absolutely nothing. So the witchery and the sorcery and the witchcraft has to kick in, because they need the American public and they need the world to not focus on the fact that this man was killed for no reason. They need the world to focus on all of the what ifs. So they have to change or deflect.
I have to say, I love it. You got ISIS trafficking hundreds of girls in sex slavery. You had the, Rutherford rape scandal with thousands of girls being sex trafficked and everything, and they're like, ooh, they don't want the world to focus on the 200 black people killed by cops, because it's a brutal slaughter and genocide. It doesn't matter that honeybees are killing more than cops. It doesn't matter that ISIS has more sex slaves than black people killed by cops. It doesn't matter that people are bombing and that. I mean, you had a truck drive through France, kill half the amount of people in a matter of minutes. About 200 black people per year are killed by cops, and you had half of that amount go through in a matter of minutes in France the other day. And there's not as many posts about that, because the media has already come down and blamed the truck, of all things. It was the truck. It wasn't the driver. It wasn't what inspired the driver. And you notice, this is the other thing, is they really want to talk about these double standards in the media. I mean, when you talk about a white kid shooting up a school, it's, well, was he playing violent video games? Was it Call of Duty? Was it the Marilyn Manson records? What inspired this evil white devil to go and shoot the innocent classmates and this and that? And they will blame him and blame everything he enjoyed and everything he's ever, I mean, they will just blame every aspect of the person. And then if it goes on with some brown person because they're a subhuman, it's the fault of the object. It's the truck. It's the gun. It's the whatever. I mean, it's insane. And it's insane that there's this double standard, and it's a very obvious double standard. And you have people like her who are trying to tell you that it's the exact opposite of what you see.
The conversation to what they want it to be. Now, after D.L. Hughley was defending the fact that, well, you can't say what if this or what if that, because none of that happened. So she then guides the conversation towards Mike Brown, which is a situation that's in the past. But she wanted to retry that, and even when he tried to get off of that, she says, no, we're talking about Mike Brown. But what made Megyn Kelly...
Yes, because she's trying to prove that we've done this before and made false assumptions about situations, and we've ran with it. Literally, ran into the streets with our hands up, don't shoot, and just paraded it around, and it still hasn't stopped. And you still have people that don't concede that that was all based on a lie. I mean, it's so beautiful that they still don't concede that it's based on a lie, that it makes D.L. Hughley look utterly insane.
I called her Megan Fox. Megyn Kelly is her name. What she doesn't realize is that the conversation was not about Mike Brown, but everyone sees that you're trying to deflect from a man who was innocent to someone who was presumed innocent by this criminal society, this system, the systematic injustice. And as D.L. Hughley pointed out, he pointed out that the Ferguson Police Department was so crooked that they had to disband it. But yet and still, we are expected to trust their word on what happened in the Mike Brown situation, even though there were witnesses to the contrary. Just because your system, your wicked system, declares something.
There wasn't the Ferguson Police Department that declared it to be bullshit. It was the Department of Justice, headed up by a black person named Eric Holder. It was Obama and the administration, the same federal government that you're oh so happy to disband these police departments, and you're fine with them coming out and disbanding the police department, and you're behind them when they say that there is racism, but when they say there isn't, you then want to ignore it. I mean, this is so selective with what they're choosing to believe and not choosing to believe. It's appalling, and it is a outright denial of reality.
To be fair and just doesn't make it so. And so I need my people to understand this. You cannot win an argument with a person who has a demonic nature, especially...
This is what I was talking about white people being put into the dehumanizing. And it's funny because she's up here wanting to talk about people being dehumanized and everything like that, and then she will go on and call people demonic in nature. I mean, it's the same as the cartoons of Jews as rats and stuff. This is this going on. It's the demoralizing of the enemy, where you don't have to, I mean, Gazi Koyoto, or whatever he calls himself, mayonnaise, toilet seat, cave beast, whatever. I mean, it's them painting white people into a way, so if you do something harmful to them, you will not feel bad about it whatsoever, because you do not see them as human. You see them as demonic, evil creatures.
When the platform belongs to them. We are constantly faced, pardon me family, sorry. We are constantly faced with media that directs all attention towards what they perceive as the evils of the black community.
What about D.L. Hughley's radio show? Did we forget that he has a media platform as well where he presents his point of view? I'm sure that doesn't exist. I'm sure that's a lie created by the white supremacist media complex.
They have to put a lot of focus on that, because if they don't, the world will begin to focus on their evils around the world, not just locally, but around the world. As a matter of fact, the world has begun to focus on that. You have other nations saying, look, don't even go there. There's a travel advisory going to America because they are just full of it right now. And we can't guarantee that you will be safe.
And I wonder why that is. I wonder why. I mean, what's the group protesting and smashing and burning shit and causing riots in Ferguson and leading to martial law being declared? Oh, Black Lives Matter. Oh, are we going to ignore that? Or are we just going, I mean, again, this is so insane. I wish it wasn't like 2 a.m. in the morning and that I was feeling a lot better, because I would probably be a lot more verbal and just, but this is ridiculous. And you know, it's funny because with this freeze frame right here, again, if you see conspiracy theory videos, you could just be like, watch this woman from Black Education Television. And I don't know what part of this is education. This is just emotional opinion and everything. There's nothing educational about this. This is indoctrination. But she's shape-shifting into a reptile.
You have a nation that has done dirt around the world and has done dirt to its so-called black citizens for centuries. And now they continue to do this and want to pretend to be the victims in all of this. They want the world...
What? What? Who's claiming victimhood? If anything, people are saying, let's get over this victim shit. Let's take responsibility for ourselves. And let's be better than this. There's not this race to the bottom. Oh my God.
To believe that they are the victims of black violence.
What? Oh my God. I thought my headache was going away. And now it seems to be coming back. And it's not because I'm sick. It's because I'm trying to process this. Where is this coming from? Really? Where? I mean, they're saying, oh, well, we can't talk about black-on-black crime because that doesn't exist, and we can't talk about this, and no one mentioned anything about white people saying they're victims of blacks, but this woman is trying to say that somewhere that's now coming up. Oh my God. What, can we exile them? Please. I know Jesse Williams said they need their own nation. Give them it. Give them it, please. Just get them out of here. Can you imagine the amount of prosperity that would come to America if we got rid of all this victim complex bullshit? If we got rid of all these people who want socialism, and, I mean, send them to a socialist country, Canada. Go up to Canada. Just go. Get out of here. I mean, I know you'd have nothing to complain about there, and that's probably the problem. It's more comfortable to sit around and complain and blame everyone else for your problems and not take responsibility. Again, I spent a couple years of my life doing it, and I was miserable. And I can see that you're miserable, and I can tell you why you're miserable, because you refuse to accept responsibility. You're blaming everyone else, and then you are projecting it all onto everyone else. All of your inadequacies, you're projecting onto everyone else.
You have this new narrative that's going forth saying that Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization.
Yep. Because it's ideologically, as I've called it, the bastard child of the Weather Underground, which was a terrorist organization, which bombed police stations, robbed armored cars. Now you have someone inspired by it who has shot police officers. It is a terrorist organization. It is. Plain and simple, cut and dry, and it's run. At this point, I'm convinced D-Ray whatever is like COINTELPRO. And I don't know how, you know, I see people who talk about these groups and, you know, worry about COINTELPRO, you know, infiltrating the Black Panthers and everything like that. We know they infiltrated the Black Panthers. And I don't know how people don't understand. They don't see the leader of the group. They're skeptical of this. How come the black community, which at some points is worried about the government infiltrating their movements and their groups and everything like that, how come they aren't skeptical of the leaders of one of their groups going to the White House and it not being a government op, start to finish. Bill Ayers supports it. Bill Ayers is a terrorist. The guy lives at a house paid for by George Soros. It is a government op. It is there to destroy black people. Plain and simple. Cut and dry.
They are they have petitions circulating because they want it to be declared a terrorist organization. Black Lives Matter has not gone around lynching anyone, burning crosses, killing anyone.
Really? Really? Tell that to the police officers who died. I mean, there were other police officers who were even shot last year that everyone seems to have forgotten about. But I think that's because the guy might have yelled like Allah Akbar before doing it, but it was still within that same climate. Like, again, this shit keeps happening and they just keep ignoring it.
You see what I'm saying?
No, I don't. I see that you're full of shit and you're in denial of reality, and frankly, I'm done with you. Ugh. Alright, last video, and then I'm gonna try to get some sleep. Now, let's watch D.L. Hughley. Just be even more of a moron. Here he is with Sway.
This is Sway.
Now, I want to point out in this, you're basically going to see everything that the Anthony Logan or Brian Anthony Logan or Anthony Brian Logan, whatever his name is, I had it up there before. He's going to do everything that he had predicted in that video, where he's basically going to start pandering to his audience and holding up his positions like everyone thought he would do.
Daily news on Sway in the morning.
That's right, Sway in the morning, Shade 4-5 Daily News, a special edition of the Daily News. Have the B.
I know it.
You know, I had to call in my homeboy this morning.
That's right.
My family, if you will.
Family.
Inspiring young man that's here with us today. Woke up this morning looking flyer than I look when I get dressed up.
Damn.
That's just, look at him, man. I'm almost hating.
Smell nice, too. Yes.
You're doing a pretty good job of it.
Thank you, man.
Now, when this woman was talking about the media before meditation and everything, she might have had a valid point there. One of the things I think is interesting about this is you'll notice them cueing sound clips. And same kind of way sitcoms in TV shows in the 90s back in the day, it would kind of, you know, I feel like it's almost like a peer pressure thing where they're trying to, it's like dog whistle racism, basically. Like, they're dog whistling, this is how you respond to this. You know, you see D.L. Hughley with this fucking hat on, ow, oh, they're leading you to an emotional response to what they're saying. And you'll hear them triggering clapping noises and everything like else because they're trying to direct your emotional responses to what's being said. They're manipulating you, basically. Just keep that in mind, that that's what that's for. Every time they hit a sound clip, they're manipulating a feeling to be responded. Just wanted to make that point. Because again, well, they'll accuse Fox News and everyone else of doing these things, and then when they do it, oh, we're just being edgy. We just think it's cool. It's ooh, ow.
Pull out your shades, Sway. Do something.
Damn, I feel like I lost him. I didn't find him this morning. Shit, I knew he was coming. I was going to throw on my Pradas, but I didn't.
Yes.
Oh, throw on your Pradas? Because, you know, we used to have brands on a body. And then we get paid to put brands on a body. And then they try to pay us to put brands on a body. Remember Jesse Williams, right? I mean, that was the most prolific thing anyone's ever heard. Put the brands on a body. The brands on a body. Put the Prada brand on the shades. Brands on the body like little baby go pants in the potty.
Doing a pretty good job of it.
Thank you, man.
Pull out your shades, Sway. Do something.
Damn, I feel like I lost him. I didn't find him this morning. Shit, I knew he was coming. I was going to throw on my Pradas, but I left him at the house. The one on D.L. Hughley is here, ladies and gentlemen.
How y'all doing this morning?
Doing great. How you been, man?
Oh man, I'm getting along okay.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Ain't slapped any white women lately, no?
Man, I ain't never done that.
I also, like, it's amazing to me. They're like, oh, look at him. He's styling. Nigga's wearing camo pants and a t-shirt and a hat with a feather in it. I mean, you act like he's dressed to the nines or something. Like, he looks like he's chilling. Not dressed in any sort of... Sway's wearing a black shirt too and a different kind of hat. What the hell?
I never done anything so atrocious.
The two of
I wanted to, but
it never happened, right?
Never happened.
Hey, let me ask you something, man. You know, having worked on TV for so many years, I have the TV sway.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then there's me. You know what I mean? In the TV sway, you know, I try to maintain a certain composure.
Right.
I don't want to act out of my character.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want somebody to pull me out of my me.
Right.
But sometimes shit happens,
Right.
and you just go to the nucleus of your soul,
Right.
no matter if the cameras are rolling or not.
Right.
I've had some moments like that, one or two.
Right.
I felt like there was a moment like that for you with Megyn Kelly.
I think that I was acting anyway. People don't understand. I was on to talk about the book.
Yeah.
The Black Man White House, an oral history of the Obama years, and it's like number 7, a New York Times bestseller. I think I'm on Fox News
Hell yeah.
to
Congratulations.
talk about a book. And
I was there to talk about a book, but immediately I started talking about who their previous guest was. And it doesn't matter that I diverted the conversation elsewhere, because I'm going to blame everyone else for the shit I started. So,
first thing I see is Mark Furman. Now, Mark Furman, I grew up in L.A.
I grew up in Cali. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And the LAPD was so brutal. They used to beat the shit out of niggas I knew and fuck over them. And he admitted to doing that.
Yeah.
He admitted to doing it. It ain't me. You look up, if you Google him and see the shit that he's done and admitted to, this is the man that you bring on to argue that policemen aren't racist and aren't brutal toward black people.
Yeah.
This man, that would be like talking a rape victim getting talked to by that Stanford swimmer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how we start the conversation. You're upset. This dude got fired from the Los Angeles Police Department for lying about being a racist.
Yeah.
And he's the one that you bring on to convince me that there's no racism in policing.
Yeah.
Megyn Kelly let Donald Trump run all over. And to get her job back, she basically sucked his dick on TV. And she talks to me like I'm a fucking janitor.
Yeah.
And I wasn't on there for literally. If I let...
again, what interview are we talking about? I mean, this is where I think there's again the recurring mental health problem, because there's a perception issue where, and it might be rooted in the victim mentality. You know, there's a saying that when you receive special treatment for so long, equality will feel like oppression, maybe? Something to that extent. And that's what I think's going on. I think D.L. Hughley is used to having everyone figuratively sucking his dick. And then the moment someone doesn't think he's oh so cute and oh so funny and thinks he's full of shit and challenges him, oh, well then it's he's being talked to like he's a janitor. Because they're just not, oh, yes, Massa Hughley, yes, sir, I'm an evil white racist, oh, yes, Massa. I mean, that's what he's expecting, because I didn't see that. I don't think anyone else saw that. Again, the only thing is, when he started being disrespectful and being like, wow, then she was like, don't wow me, and that was about that. But you see the way he's perceived this somehow. There's a delusion of persecution. And this is, again, what I think it's the mental health issue. People have some serious mental health issues that they need to get sorted out. And it's infringing their ability to have a productive dialogue.
She actually got offended that I would level the charge of racism at her when you have an admitted racist on your payroll.
Yeah.
Right.
But do you honestly, like, she's an intelligent person, obviously?
No. Let me fix the mic. She gets mad at him for calling her a racist because another guy is racist. So, by his logic, I should assume he's a criminal. Because there's black people that are criminals, right? Makes sense. By his logic, I'd consider that to be kind of fucked up and racist, because you're not judging people as individuals. You're doing this guilt by association nonsense. But you notice how willing he is to do that to someone else, but would be completely appalled if it was done to him or anyone that looked like him. And again, how are we trying to achieve equality going about it through this way? This is utterly insane. And I mean, if you read the comments below this, it's like, oh, he told her, you know, this and that, all sorts of just craziness. Sheer and utter craziness.
Educated the whole.
I don't know that she's intelligent.
Okay, well,
that's true.
I'm sure she's educated.
There's a difference.
Okay.
That's a difference.
I'm sure she's educated.
Yeah, she got a piece of paper that says she went somewhere.
She's made her mark in the game.
Sure.
Do you think it's we've worked in TV? You put a slant on shit.
Now pay attention to what he's going to say at the end of this question. Pay attention.
To make sure you charge up your audience. You keep your core.
Right.
And her arguing back and forth with Donald Trump and arguing back and forth with you. Do you think she believes everything?
I can't. What I never try to do is to get in somebody else's head. But I'll say this.
Please, everyone. Again, we're talking attention spans of goldfish, but just remember him saying that. I never try to get into someone else's head. I never try to get into someone else's head. Now, I might skip through to the end. I really don't feel like sitting through the rest of this 15-minute shit. But he's going to tell you that his new book is him doing that. That it's him talking about situations that have happened in the Obama administration and pretending like he's in the head of Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or whoever else. That's the whole premise of his new book that he wanted to talk about. Him getting into the head of other people, and he's going to outright come out here and say, I never try to get into the head of other people. I mean, this is mind-blowing. This is sheer insanity. And I'll tell you, you must be so dumb in order for this to appeal to you that it's mind-numbing. I can't even. And let's just hear him say that again. Oh my God, this is beyond belief.
You think she believes everything?
I can't. What I never try to do is to get in somebody else's head. But I'll say this.
I mean, when you accuse someone of being a racist, you are assuming you are in their head. This is sheer insanity. I'm so appalled by this. Like, if you want to see someone expose themselves as being a hypocritical, two-faced, lying sack of shit, all you gotta do is let them talk and just pay attention, because at some point, what they say at one point will completely negate what they say at another point. It is so ridiculous. I mean, I have just endless amounts of shit I've pulled for doing this. I have articles where intersectional feminists will complain for their whole blog about, how wrong body shaming is and how it's, belittling and dehumanizing and everything like that else. And then they will go and show a conversation of a guy trying to talk to them who has no game or whatever and be mocking them and laughing the whole way. So it's like, okay, well, we can't mock and shame people over body issues, but you can mock and shame a guy for bad pickup lines. What the fuck? You're a shitty person. Like, there's this, oh, well, I've chosen this as my issue that I'm going to fucking care about and virtue signal around, and then I'm going to be a scumbag doing practically the same thing on this other aspect, and try to think nothing of it. I mean, these are shitty, awful fucking people.
I'll say that there is a story that they tell themselves that allows them.
Oh man. There is a story that they tell themselves. There there's a story that they tell themselves. This is too good to be true. This really is.
To do the things they do to black people.
Okay.
There's a story that they tell themselves. I mean, you want to see the pot calling the kettle black, huh?
Oh, the police are scared. Well, it's black on black crime. Do you know when black people say black on black crime, they are complicit in the murder of their own people, and I'll tell you why.
What? What? I mean, we're taking guilt to a whole new level. Whole new level. And he's just saying it's over the semantics of it. Just if we acknowledge that a black person committed a crime on another black person, well, then you're responsible for some black person dying. What sort of insanity is this? I mean, and this is him again, wanting this issue to go unknown. And like I said, God forbid my nephew has some goon fucking do some horrible thing to him where he is a victim of another black person, and you have assholes like D.L. Hughley out here trying to say that the people who acknowledge this and want to stop it are complicit in it. Oh my God. Oh my God. When I'm Supreme Commander and Dictator of the United States, all of these people will be brought up on crimes against humanity. We're going to have to find an island somewhere to send them all to. We're going to have to. If we want to restore civilization and civility to society, we need to purge these people out of there. This is insane on a whole. I mean, you want to talk about destructive. Again, this is the pot calling the kettle black. This is the most destructive thing he could be doing. People like him are a weapon against black people.
Okay. That is a lie. More crime, virtually every crime committed in the United States of America, 2-to-1 black to white. Even if you.
And that's because of population differences. Again, very simple. But if you account for that and go to per capita, again, you want me to bam, bam, bam. I mean, this is tiring.
Even for percentages. Mm-hmm. Even for percentages.
Because you don't understand what per capita means.
Even if we knock it down to, say, we're 13% and they're 63%, every crime committed in the United States of America is 2-to-1, black to white, white to black. They actually.
You had it right the first time, buddy. Look at the stats. I mean, just 2-to-1, black to white. You were right the first time.
More white on white crime than black on black crime. But when you call it black on black crime, that gives them marching orders. That gives them a call to arms.
What? Who? To who? What are you talking about? I mean, again, is this a semantical problem? You want us to not acknowledge a problem because you don't like the way it makes you feel?
So now they can come and brutalize because there's a sense of urgency. You'll hear black people saying, oh, a black on black crime. That doesn't exist. If it exists, there has to be Asian on Asian crime.
Again, do you hear this? It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Oh my God. Oh, God. If D.L. Hughley died in a car crash tomorrow, I would throw a party. I would throw the biggest party you could imagine. Because I would feel as if the lives of my family are safer. You know, I've had people, like I mentioned before, comment on my channel, tell me they don't think I have much of an agenda. I have an agenda, and I hate talking about this race stuff, but that's part of my agenda, is because my family is very mixed, very diverse. I have Korean cousins, I have black nieces and nephews, one of them's Jamaican, one of them's half Puerto Rican. I mean, my family is the fucking United Nations. We are the world. I mean, and I hear people like this, and I worry about their safety. I worry about the division that they will feel growing up in the climate that these type of people are created, the internal conflict that these people must be going through. I have an interview, hopefully upcoming, with someone I had started conversating with on a Sargon of Akkad's video about Black Lives Matter apologists, who I want to get him on here to tell his story about the issues he's had with growing up in a black family where his family members are extremely racist, and how he realized that that was only going to hinder his growth in society and as a man and personally and in his personal relationships, and how he had to reject it and basically be disowned by his family for not buying in to nonsensical, dangerous ideas like this. And, oh my God, again, I will say this for the third time. Black people, make this stop. I can't do it. My opinion just gets dismissed as, oh, well, it's your apparent privilege, or, you know, what, I mean, again, I'll have half white people who visibly look white, but because they've taken on this one-drop rule bullshit, tell me, oh, your privilege as a parent, go fuck yourself. But please, make this stop. I'm begging you, make it stop. It's so not cool, and it's not productive. It's not helpful for anyone. It's not going to empower anyone. It's not going to do anything. It's going to backfire. This is all being directed from the federal government, and everything they've ever tried to do has just backfired and done the complete opposite of what they claim to be doing.
Yeah.
Or Latin on Latin crime.
Absolutely.
Crime is about proximity. You hurt the ones you love because you're close to them. If you take any...
And this is a crazy thing. He'll say, black on black crime doesn't exist. Latino crime doesn't exist. And then he will go in the same breath and say that crime is about proximity and whoever you are closest to. So he admits it, and then he says it's not real. This is like some sort of cognitive dissonance or something. How do you admit it and deny it in the same breath? I don't understand. I really don't. And these people just put out these talking points, and other people hear what they want to hear and latch on to it to rationalize for their own personal inadequacies. And I can't. Oh my God.
Any living organism, and you put it in a small space with limited resources, it will kill anything around it.
Yeah.
Black on black crime is nothing but it's biology. That shit is happening on your lawn right now with the weeds in the grass, fighting for resources. But you believe that you're inferior because they tell you it's a such thing as black on black crime.
What is it?
What point is he trying to make? Do you see how he's acknowledging it, saying it's not a thing? Well, yeah, it happens. It's natural. It's biology, but it's not real. It's not real. Like, oh my God. Oh my God. I can't put words to this shit. It's beyond belief. It's
That do to black people when they buy into that.
It signs your death warrant. It says to you, okay, of course, when they say they kill.
No, someone trying to say this isn't a problem, and this isn't real, and this isn't an issue, and this is just natural biology, that's signing a death warrant. I mean, this is, God, I want to throw my computer at this point. It's so aggravating to see someone do this, see someone try to say this shit, and say it's not a problem, it's not real, it doesn't exist, and if you acknowledge it, that signs the death warrant. No, ignoring it and trying to say it isn't a problem is more dangerous than acknowledging it. This is like if you have a cancer and you just say, oh, well, it's not cancer, it's just a tumor. It's natural, it's biology. I'm just going to let it be. And the next thing you know, you're dead, rather than pointing it out, treating the issue.
You'll hear niggas say shit like this. We kill ourselves, nobody get mad. That's bullshit. Black people who kill black people go to jail, and they're sent there by black people all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, Chicago. What about Chicago? Every day in Chicago, the alphas and the do protests. There's a group called the Interrupters of young men that go out and try to stop violence. The mothers of Inglewood every day hugging gang members trying to stop it. But it's not sexy, so it's not on TV. Stop believing the lies they tell you about yourself. Because when you do, you sign your death warrant. When Giuliani gets on TV and says that black children need to learn, be taught respect, what you're saying is that children should act more responsibly than trained professionals. And
that's not what he's saying. That's the context you're trying to put to it. And here's the thing, because I can tell you, children with single mothers as their parents have issues with respect, because respect is a masculine trait. It is part of discipline and strength and everything like that. As you can see by D.L. Hughley, wow, he lacks respect. D.L. Hughley, as a black child, should have been taught some respect, should have been taught some manners. I don't care that Megyn Kelly's white. She's a woman. You should respect her. It's called chivalry, you bastard. D.L. Hughley should have been taught some respect.
That is your antidote?
Yeah.
The children who you can't control. You can't even make your children. You remember the shit you used to do when you was a child?
Right.
You are supposed to be the one responsible.
Not the police.
And we buy that argument?
Yeah.
You signing your people's death warrant. And what I'm gonna do is everywhere I'm at, if I'm gonna call you out for that lie. When you tell me stuff like that, I'm going to say something about it. You cannot pretend. Look, I would rather be smoking weed and lying up than this. But I'm not. If I let that lie live, so one of my people die. That ain't how it happens.
Right.
You feel like you were ambushed that day?
I feel like it's the constant condition of niggas. It's always something happening.
You notice that? Do you feel like you were ambushed? It's a constant condition of niggas. I mean, at this point, it's cool to be paranoid. It's cool to have these delusions of persecution. It's the victimology where it's enemy again. I mean, how fucking crazy is this that you got a group of millionaires sitting around talking about how persecuted they are? You want to talk about ingrates? This is insane.
It felt like a normal day.
I'm done with this. It's almost 3 in the morning now. This video is going to be way too long, but let's get to the end where he talks about the book and tells you what the premise of the book is. Because like I said, he never tries to get into other people's minds.
Be yourself.
Yeah.
I want people to listen. If you see what you see, and if I let you see what you, simple, do to me what you would do on the other too. Only time you see each other.
Responded and came here early this morning.
I was going. You people.
All right.
Let's see.
Get to see it.
Up next, we got sports.
District attorneys, they are there, and we oftentimes do the opposite. Would nobody being brought to account for it? Don't do it to me. I want the way they do it. Listen, I want offensive as me.
Assaulted millions
at all. No problem. Gun that much. Castile mad at me for it. Why would I?
I don't know why I'm having troubles finding the part, but
Real.
Police departments, but it
again, you hear
the
the
six
noise.
came up with a report. This, like, if I were slaughtered, and you were so scared and see it.
Maybe it's over here.
I watched the men and get over, and we have a real. You're like
Association
right.
makes those.
Of course, she said, well, bye, and I said bye, and she said, I didn't. It's a shame it had to go this way. I said I expected nothing less from this network. She said, well, why'd you come? She said that like that, and I said,
why'd you come? Well, we found out that reason in the other video, so we could persecute Fox.
Because you invited me, and I'm not a coward like you.
Why'd you come? Ooh. How should we? Well, this was off air.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then all you heard was my little footsteps going off on the, and it was quiet. I don't listen. What anybody to me, black? If you ask me, Carrie, to be angry, I'll be around. Right. Before me.
You mentioned also how you were offended.
The constant condition of niggas. It's always
Again,
the serious news. James Baldwin, and I'm not. When we left from this network, there was my little footsteps. Mad me a gun.
Man, White House and oral history.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Here's the part.
Somebody else.
D.L. Hughley is here. The book is Black Man, White House, and Oral History of the Obama Years. We're going to talk about that momentarily. Sway in the morning. We want to talk to D.L. 888-742-3345.
Now more of the Daily.
Eric Holder's deal.
Racism doesn't care less about it.
This
report that said that that's listen. It's simple to me. Your uniform is blue or your
right.
You are so and you're trained. Right here. If you see a police
divide, isn't it?
I try to do that, but people are.
It's only a snippet, and you can see even here, he's not here to
Tamir Rice was a 12-year-old.
Tamir Rice was acting like a fucking
man could have been somebody who legally something happens to you. They're trying to dehumanize, devalue you.
Right.
What they were doing, only reason you should use force about the presidency, a new way in front of you and another way behind your back. Like Chris Rock had this great joke. He said that there's a new app that lets you know if your friends are racist. It's called Facebook.
Yeah,
And you remember?
I'll tell you what, I've been finding out a lot of my black friends from high school are insane racists who are willing to deny reality in unfathomable ways for the sake of upholding their hatred.
How when Obama became president, everybody would say one thing and then get on Facebook and start talking shit about it.
Yeah.
Well, we pretend like we are there when they say it. Like the first time in the book, the first time Bill and Hillary see President Obama giving that speech, they go, "Who is this nigga right here? Who is he?"
Yeah, you know, this is him explaining the premise of his book, where he pretends he's in the minds of Hillary and Bill Clinton, doing the exact same thing he said. I never try to get in the mind of someone else. And that's the whole premise of his book, where he goes around and he points to these situations, and then he tries to make everyone else appear racist. He tries to make jokes about it, because obviously racism is such a non-issue, we can make jokes about it. And what's going to happen is you're going to have gangs of goons and morons read his book and think that that's what must have really happened. Because of course it happened, because all white people are racist if you didn't know.
Wait a minute.
That's in the book.
Oh, absolutely. That's the first one. So it's actual events, but we pretend like we were there, and there's no filter, and we pretend like we're talking for them. So
And we pretend that we're talking for them. So he is doing exactly what he claimed he never does in a whole book, and he's a complete hypocrite. He's so full of shit, it's unfathomable. And when I'm Supreme Commander and Dictator, he will be brought up on war crimes. He might even be publicly executed. Why not? Because that's how harmful these people are to society. They will come out and say, I'm fighting this, and that. And they don't realize if they were really fighting it, first thing they would do is run full speed with their head first against a brick wall and knock themselves out. Because they're the ones that perpetuate all of this bullshit and nonsense. And they make millions off it at this rate. This is why they can't stop it, and they can't concede to the truth or admit reality or facts, because they're making money off it. And the shameful part is there are people who are morons who don't make money off it, but they buy into it. They're the ones that are feeding him money to keep making this shit and to keep perpetuating these narratives. It's utter insanity, beyond levels of comprehension. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I'm sorry for the length. It's just, I saw this stuff tonight and I had to address it, and it is despicable. Check the links below, subscribe to the channel. Have a good one, everyone.